Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we're going to be looking at a kit made by Ringo, which is actually believed to be a subsidiary or kind of a shell company created by ITC to unload some of their kits when ITC decided to get out of model kits. So this is the kit of the Grumman J2F duck. We've done a duck kit before, the Airfix kit, and did a pretty good history on review of the duck. So if you're interested in more information about the duck, I will put a link in the description to that video so you can learn a little bit more about the duck itself. But the ITC made a kits late 50s to about 63. And ITC was the Ideal Tour Corporation, which is they were mainly making toys. They were founded around just before the turn of the century. Husband and wife, were making little stuffed animals and selling them in a shop. They became famous when they made the first teddy bear for Theodore Roosevelt after he refused to shoot a tied-up bear that was presented to him. And so the teddy bear, came out of that incident and became a huge success. And they made tons of money and expanded the company and started getting involved in a lot of other toy manufacturing. They purchased some injection plastic molding machinery in 1941, I think it was, and started injection molding doll parts. And they took notice of the rise of plastic kits in the 50s and decided to get involved with it. But they came at it with the kind of the toy manufacturer angle, and so a lot of their kits were a little more toy-like. They had a lot of operating features. Some of them are pretty spectacular what they could do, especially when you consider this, the 50s. They were able to make a car that could do all kinds of commands. They had a missile launcher that would, the launcher would move back and forth, stand vertical and then shoot off. They had an aircraft carrier that would, could float around in the pool and then, launch an airplane. A submarine that could dive, come back to the surface, open up, launch a Regulus missile. So a lot of really neat stuff. But the downside of it is that in order to get these operating features to happen, it sacrificed a lot of their scaled and integrity as a model kit. So your guys who wanted to build good quality scale kits, really weren't interested in them that much. The toy features, were very complicated, and, young kids, had difficulty putting them together and making them work the way that they, showed in their TV commercials and their advertising. And they were extremely expensive at the time when model kits, from everybody else, was under $1 to $1. Revell had a hard time selling a $2 kit. These guys were selling kits that were $6, $7, $8. So, they just were not very successful. They did make a lot of really unusual aircraft. I mean, the Sylvia Marchetti, twin fuselage float plane, a lot of very kind of different things, but they just didn't do well. So their first kits came out around 55 to 57. They had, some smaller ones, that were kind of, again, toy-like, very minimal assembly. Then their first, car kits were more of like, you assemble it toys. So the first real official kits started coming out in 57. At least that's when their catalog announced, hey, we're making models. And by 63, they were done. So, they still had a lot of product left over, and they needed to get rid of the stuff, but they didn't want to kind of taint their name. So it's believed that they formed this Ringo Toy Corporation as a way of kind of unloading all this stuff. And, some of the stuff that I read on it says that, a lot of these Ringo kits were missing parts And as they were just trying to clear out, leftover production run stuff, I don't think they were worrying too much about whether or not they were fully complete kits. So once this was done, that was it. Fortunately, quite a number of the moldings survived and ended up getting picked up for Glencoe. So Glencoe Models has re-released quite a number of these ITC kits, and they're out there. If you want to get a little bit more of a detailed history on ITC, Max over at Max's Models did a pretty robust video on it. Some 25, 28-minute long video explaining the whole thing, showing you a lot of videos of some of their commercials and some of their really unique kits. I know a couple of those are some of Max's holy grails, and so seeing that video inspired me to get this thing out and show this one off, and so let's get into it. So this is a completely different artwork for this issue, much simpler design artwork than what was on the original issue from 58. You get a little bit of a history of the duck on the front cover. The Ringo logo is on here, and here they're saying authentic models. The side has real simple explanation of what you're getting. Assembled kit, pilot observer, complete instructions, and the Ringo address. Other side of the box, identical. And on the end, repeat of the top box art and plastic assembly kit. Here's your kit number, C550-100. So this was being sold off as a $1 kit, and the other end is the same here. If you notice, there's nothing indicating scale, which is not too uncommon for 50s, early 60s kits. And there's a number of different references to what the scale of this kit is actually. When Glencoe released theirs, they said approximately 148. And I've seen this being listed as anywhere from 150th to 152nd to 154th. So I didn't take the time to actually measure out the wingspan and see what it comes out to, but somewhere, a little bit smaller than 48 scale is what this kit is. So let's open it up. It's a folded printed box, and one side's, the glues come off a little bit on there. And here's the instruction sheet. This instruction sheet is identical to the ITC instructions. It's a large fold-out sheet. You got a photograph of the subject aircraft. Looks kind of like a heavily retouched drawing, actually. The ITC logo has been replaced in the instructions with the Ringo one, and they also put Ringo across the bottom here. And then general instructions of how to kind of put a kit together. And this is a large fold-out sheet. Let's look at the back side. The back side, it's got a nice parts identification stuff here. So it looks like a photograph of all the tree. Looks like this was shot all as one thing, and then they broke these apart to fit into the box. So kind of interesting, as you can see how it comes out of the mold. And so it looks like all the numberings are put on here. So they may not have numbers on the parts. Let's open this up. A little hard to see here, but on the whole one half of it here, they've got a nice 3-view, almost like a blueprint model of the duck. The specifications up here. Interesting, they've kind of superimposed these rockets over what would be a depth charge or a small bomb. The duck never carried rockets. And so here we've got your first step, putting stuff into the cockpit. You do get a little bit of cockpit detail going in here. You get some of the windows to fit into there. And it looks like you get a movable landing gear for what that will be worth. That probably means that they're making some sacrifices in scale in order to make that happen. But Again, that kind of points towards the toy feature of it, but you know, again, you had Monogram doing similar stuff around this time as well too, so you can't really fault them too much for it. Then you got assembling the fuselage together, and they've got the stand on here already for some reason, and then putting all the parts onto the fuselage itself. And you do have a separate engine, which is nice. The collector ring, and there's your tail. Then here we've got the assembling of the wings, the interplane struts, and then here, yep, there are rockets that they're showing to attach to the bottom of the wing, which the Duck never had rockets. You do get step-by-step, verbal instructions on how to do these things as well. And then your final painting instructions on what to paint: black, silver, red, yellow. So you can do that with a simple set. And representation of the stand that it was going to sit on. This I think is one of the coolest parts of it. We'll get to that. So that's your instruction sheet. And then we've got the clear parts and the decals molded in a separate bag. Let me open this up here. First time being opened. It's not that rare of a kit, so I don't feel too bad about opening this sucker up. But here we've got our decals. Fairly simple, not the best in the world. Kind of transparent a bit, it looks like here. Just basically 3 colors: white, blue, and red, while these should be different colors. And this is kind of like a squadron insignia, but these markings are for VJ1, and that is not their squadron insignia. This is kind of looking like a duck, so maybe that was some sort of a Grumman insignia, or something completely made up by them. But it's definitely not a VJ1 squadron insignia. But this VJ1 was a real squadron. They were equipped with ducks and a couple of other floatplanes around or just before the war. They were present at Pearl Harbor and did do a little bit of patrolling to try to find where the Japanese fleet was right after the attack. They did lose some aircraft, but not as many as some of the other squadrons that were based there, both Army and Navy and Marine. Was not able to find a photograph of this exact one, number 15 out of the VJ1, but there are quite a few photographs of aircraft from the VJ1, so we'll take a look at those here. Okay, so let's look at this pretty cool stand. So it's made to look like little waves are happening, and the part that comes up and holds the aircraft is like this crashing wave. So this would fit on here. Kind of move this out so it's a little easier to see. So hopefully you can kind of see that there, which I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, the original version of this was molded in see-through blue color, so it really emphasized that wave, component of it. Looks like there may have been an ITC logo on here or something that's been really poorly scraped out of there. But kind of a neat way of displaying it. I don't know if the Glencoe model has this, but I think that's pretty cool. Kind of a different way of doing it. And then we've got the tree for the other clear part. So here's our main canopy. Very, very stylized. It looks like they got a hole in the back there for the rear gun, which is incorrect for how that would have been done. The rear canopy would have slid back in order to expose the rear gun. Then here's the windows for the lower area. So very stylized, which I think is going to be kind of a theme of this kit. And so here is the main parts. Make some space for this. So look at the fuselage first. You can see they kind of cut up that giant tree. So we've got some fairly heavy rivet lines. You do have molded on markings that are there. You have representation of some of the cooling vents. And yeah, you get the idea of what it was. I think this is where a tail hook would go, and that looks like a pretty stylized representation. You have the handholds and footholds. Nothing on the inside. Same thing is the case for this half. Again, molded on markings. Interesting choice to mold it in this kind of tan color, as opposed to like a gray or something else. Here's a lower wing, I believe, which has the star molded on there. Here's the upper wing. So we got top and bottom for that. Pretty heavy representation of the fabric covering, and molded on markings again on the top of the wing. So you do have some locator pins on there. So they go together. Yeah, fit's not the best, but not terrible. So that's that. We've got some struts here. I think these are for the floats, the wing floats. There's our machine gun. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it's not quite the, it's got a pistol grip instead of spade, but at least there's a little something going on there. And looks like you get a little bit of representation for an instrument panel. So not too terrible. And there's our engine. That's not bad. There's our seats. I'm not so sure about those. One thing mentioned that it looks like the bucket seats from their VW Bug, which yeah, I could understand where they're thinking that. Okay, and I think these are the hubs on the wheels. Here's the rockets, which completely made up. There's a tail wheel there. What else we got? I think these are parts of the landing gear system that they got going. Here's the wheel itself and one of the underwings. And what else we got over here? Oh, we got the tail. So this is done as one piece. And then the previous owner bagged up a few of these little parts, so we'll dump those out and take a look at what we got. So we got our vertical tail, which is completely incorrect shape. And I think actually even the front half of that is supposed to be metal. So it's a fabric covering. There's our, I think that's our cowl ring, prop, collector ring, floor, some more struts, tail hook. And here's our pilots. These are, I'd like you to meet Bob and Matt. So I guess those are going to fit inside those seats there. Maybe that's it. They're just supposed to represent the top half of the seat. Maybe that's why they look so funny. But yeah, these are really poor. What's funny is that what you do get is pretty nicely detailed, though. So there's your pipe, guys, and looks like we got some wing parts here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, that's the remaining wing parts. So it looks like you do get top and bottom halves on the lower wings again. So you do have the representation of fabric covering on both top and bottom, which eliminates one of the problems with a lot of these kits from this period where you got these injector pin marks on the bottom side of a wing that's got this fabric covering stuff. So this is kind of a better way of doing it, so you don't have that problem. It's a little heavy-handed on the fabric representation, but still made for a better way of completing the kit, I guess. So there you have it. That's the kit. So some pros, some cons, but not untypical of this late 50s period kit. In fact, maybe a little better than the average late 50s kit. So as mentioned at the beginning, the first issue of this kit was 1958 under the ITC Modelcraft label, and then there's an issue of it under the Cleaware label. It's the exact same looking kit as that first 58 one, but just the ITC labels are taken off and it's got Cleaware instead. I've seen that with Aurora kits as well, so I don't know if Cleaware was just a reboxer, if it was exactly what that was, but they appear to be just identical to whatever the production kit was, just with a different label. Then you got this one here from the ITC version, 1963, and then finally ITC's last release was also in 63. Then they changed it to what they called the Craftsman series, and the box art was a little revised for that one. And then the last ultimate release from this was from Glencoe in 2006, and those are out there and readily available. And these kits actually, there's a few of them out there. They're not terribly pricey, so if you're looking to do kind of a fun nostalgia build, this looks like it might be kind of neat to do. It's a lot of question as far as their accuracy goes, but still kind of a unique and fun kit, and plus you get that pretty awesome stand. So that's about it for this kit. If you've built one of these or any one of the ITC line of kits, tell us about it in the comments section. And if you've built one of them, still got it on your shelf, take some pictures, send it in for our next viewer build video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great rest of your day.